Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make this dichroic light catcher. Welcome to Rocket Rose Art. My name is Jeff, and if you're familiar with my channel you'll notice the beard is gone. There's a little story behind that. I wasn't sure whether I should tell you this, but I prefer to be honest about it. I suffer from mild seizures, which you've noticed with the tics and the little head nods, and I'm on a fairly strong drug for that, and it does have a side effect of some rashes which can be life-threatening, and last week that's what I ended up with. So that's the reason. It will be off for quite a while, I would think, and so the old Jeff is gone, sadly. Okay, let's move on. If you're new here and you genuinely like this video and would like to see more, please hit the like button, subscribe and turn on the notifications. And you'll find in the description for the video I do have some links to relevant videos and other information, so have a look at that when the video is over. Now, I must send out a huge thank you to everybody. I actually passed the 500 subscriber mark this week, which is absolutely fantastic. If you've got any comments, please put them in the comments section. I love reading the comments and answering them. And any ideas about anything at all, new videos, please, I'd love to hear them. Today we're going to create a simple dichroic light catcher. Now, if you've done fuse class before, you've probably seen these or made these before, so this one may not be much of a challenge. But it does come up really nice, and I think it's worthwhile looking at. I understand dichroic isn't cheap, but you can adjust the size of this to your budget. I'm using scrap, so I've got a lot of very small pieces of dichroic that are offcuts, and that's what I'll be using on this. Now, this is probably not suitable for a microwave kiln unless you adjust the size right down, or you've got a very big microwave kiln. As usual, I'll talk about the materials. There's no special equipment required. We'll cover the design, the preparation of the materials, the assembly and the fusing, and I will include a firing schedule. Keep in mind that the firing schedule probably needs to be adjusted for your kiln, and at the end of the video I will talk about a few other design options. In this project there's not many materials required. It's mainly a backing sheet of just 3mm plain clear glass and the dichro that you'll use to place on it. That dichro is dichro on clear. And the only other thing you'll need is the high temperature wire and maybe a little bit for covering the hook that we'll create at the top. I'll be using iridized black for that. When it comes to design, the piece I'll make is about 190mm by 50mm, mainly because I have a scrap piece of glass that suits. The idea here is that we put 2mm dichro face down onto that backing piece, and maybe some of it also face up. We then put a little hook at the top of it, which will be made out of high temp wire, and in mine I'll be covering that hook, which will be fused into the glass with a couple of little pieces of iridized black. Now I'm using a transparent back, but you can use a coloured background if you like, but we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video. When it comes to preparing your materials, there's really not a lot to do. The backing piece is probably the only piece that you'll need to cut. You can see mine's rectangular, but you could cut it into any shape you like. You can make it a triangle, or you could just make it some freeform shape. So any way you prefer. The other thing you'll need is obviously your hook that I talked about earlier. You can see I've made mine round and I've turned in the ends a little bit just so it will hold better in the glass. You will need all your Dichro. You can see here I have a selection. This is all scrap Dichro. So I've just taken a whole selection out of my scrap. And then to hide the hook at the top, I'm going to use a couple of small pieces of iridized black. So this has all been washed and prepared and ready to be assembled. I'm ready to assemble this now. I've washed and cleaned everything, and the shelf is ready. I've got thin fire. By the way, if you hear some grumbling in the background, we're about to get a big storm, I think. I've got thin fire on the shelf, and I've got the backing piece in place, and behind that I've got one of those little pieces of iridized black with the iridized surface facing down. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the hook I made up in place. Now this is, as I said, this is just a piece of high temp wire. I've bent it into a loop and I've pushed the ends in so that it will grip in the glass more, as I said before. Now you will need high temp wire, because if you don't use high temp wire it will scale, discolour badly, and basically won't look very nice. Now to put the hook in place, because I'm not gluing this, I will put it in place, but the chances are I will have to fix this up once I move it over to the kiln. Oh, there's a storm. It's going to be a nasty one, I think. Basically, it's just balance this on the top and take your top piece and lay it over the top. You should centre it and clean it up that way, just so you've got enough sticking out the top for your ribbon. I'll fix that up once I've taken it over to the kiln. Now the next stage of assembly is just to take all of your small pieces of Dichro and lay them up on the top of your backing piece. You can put them with the Dichro facing down, or you can put them with the Dichro up. I'll do both just so I can show you the difference. As I said before, you can use glue to glue all these in place if you want, but I'm not going to be doing that today because I'm in a bit of a hurry. I'll get on now and I'll just start laying the Dichro up on the backing piece. Something to keep in mind here, some Dichro is very reflective, so I'm probably not going to be using much of that. I'll use some, and I don't like really reflective stuff because it tends to act more like a mirror. And I have a mixture here of different types of Dichro, so I'm just going to randomly place these all around. Most of it is 2mm, some of it is 3mm. And if you put them close to the edge, they will tend to make the edge round out a little bit, which adds a little bit more character. I think that's enough. I'll move this over to the kiln now and I'll fix up my hook and we'll fuse it up. Now it will be only taken to like a high tack fuse. I still want some texture, so you will have to watch it in the kiln just to make sure you don't fuse it if you want texture. Fusing it fully is not a problem, but it just depends upon what you're trying to achieve. So here we have the final piece. Backdrop is my veggie garden. Unfortunately it's a dull day, so I can't show you this in nice bright sunlight, but you can see the dichro there from the front and from the back the same. Remember, I put some with dichro up, you can see it reflecting there. Now if you wanted to put this onto, say, a transparent red, that would be fine. Remember that the dichro on the front is clear, so the dichro will look much the same as it is now, but on the back it will all have a red tint because it's got to come through that red backing. If you wanted to do this on something like black, so if you wanted to do dichro on black, or even dichro on clear on black, that would work, but you're not going to see any dichro here. Now one of the ways to get around that is to put dichro face down on the back, so when you sit it like that, put dichro under it face down and then fuse it, so you can get some dichro showing through on the back. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed that. You'll find suggestions for other videos up here and down here. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments. So until the next video, I'll say bye for now.